If a producer ever hands you a film budget and they tell you it's a fixed price run.
Oh, absolutely. Run the other way.
Seriously, do not walk, because it is a complete trap. Welcome to this deep dive, everyone. Today we're pulling from a really fascinating masterclass video essay called Decoding Film Budgets in the Era of AI.
Yeah, it's a great source, really eye-opening stuff.
It really is. And our mission today is to shatter this illusion of a fixed price tag in filmmaking. We're looking at the volatile hidden forces that dictate what a movie actually costs to make, from traditional human logistics all the way to raw AI generation.
Because in the film economy, fixed numbers are they're a myth. Everything is a highly volatile variable.
Right. When you go to the grocery store, you expect a certain level of, financial sanity.
Yeah, a carton of eggs is a carton of eggs.
Exactly. The sign says $4. You go to the register, you pay $4. It's comforting. It's predictable. But the moment you step into the world of making a movie, that predictable price tag completely disintegrates.
It just vanishes.
Yeah. We're looking at a financial landscape where the price of your metaphorical carton of eggs might suddenly, triple because it started raining, or because the cashier had to walk slightly further to the register today.
Which is the absolute definition of financial muddy waters. If you come from a traditional business mindset where you rely on hard numbers and those static spreadsheets, the way film budgeting works is deeply, deeply unsettling.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because right now we are seeing a massive shift in how this volatile economy operates. We're looking at data from the source that shows a 3-minute short film.
Which is a very standard format.
Right. A 3-minute short that would typically cost $15,000 using a traditional crew and equipment. That can now be generated for a grand total of $120.
That's wild.
Using raw artificial intelligence, just $120.
Yeah, that gap between $15,000 and $120 is just staggering. But to truly understand how AI is achieving that massive cost reduction and, why it's such an existential shift for the industry, we first have to look under the hood of traditional budgeting.
We have to know what we're replacing.
Exactly. We have to understand why it is so uniquely chaotic and what producers are actually paying for when they make a movie.
Right. Because as the source points out, film pricing behaves way more like the stock market than a grocery store. When you budget a film, you aren't just buying items off a shelf.
Not at all.
You are pricing specific, constantly shifting variables: time, human labor, physical geography, and unpredictability.
And those 4 elements are the true currency of any film set. I mean, they dictate every single dollar that gets spent, far more than the physical equipment itself.
But wait, I have to challenge this premise just a little bit here.
Sure, go for it.
If I go to a camera rental house, they have a catalog, right? Like a physical list of prices.
They do, yeah.
So if I rent an Arri Alexa camera package for $1,000 a day, it's $1,000. A lens is a lens. That seems like a pretty rigid, fixed price to me. How does that fluctuate?
Well, the static items, the camera body, the lens, the light stand, those aren't the problem. You're right. The invoice from the rental house says $1,000. But here is the trap. You don't just run a camera, set it on the ground, and magically get a movie.
I wish it worked that way.
Right. But the massive hidden costs come from the unpredictable human and physical variables required to actually use that piece of equipment.
Because the camera doesn't operate itself.
Exactly. You have to pay for the time it takes to transport that camera, usually in a specialized truck, to the location.
Which means gas, mileage, a driver.
Yep. And then you have to pay for the human labor. The director of photography, the focus puller, the camera assistants, the digital imaging technician, just to unpack the thing, build it, calibrate it, and physically carry it around.
And that's where the geography comes in.
Precisely. Are you rolling that heavy camera dolly across a perfectly smooth, climate-controlled studio floor?
Which sounds lovely.
It is lovely. Or are you paying a crew of 5 people to drag it up the side of a muddy, freezing mountain in the dark? The effort, the risk of damage, and the sheer time required change drastically based on the physical terrain.
Wow.
And you hit the ultimate variable, unpredictability.
The weather.
The weather. Let's say a thunderstorm rolls in. For safety reasons, you have to shut off the generators.
Obviously.
So that $1,000 camera sits in a protective waterproof case in the back of a truck for 6 hours. You didn't shoot a single frame of footage.
Oh, man.
But you still paid the rental house for the day. You still paid your crew their full day rate for sitting in the truck. And you still paid the location fee. So that static price of the camera is just a tiny, rigid island in a massive, chaotic ocean of variables.
That makes perfect sense. Every single line item on a budget is attached to a living, breathing variable. You aren't paying for the camera, you are paying for the ecosystem required to support the camera. And I think that brings us to this terrifying concept known in the industry as the multiplier effect.
Oh, yes, the multiplier effect.
Because when you understand that every piece of gear comes with a human and environmental cost, you realize how adding just one seemingly simple element to a script causes costs to snowball exponentially.
And this is exactly where budgets go off the rails if a production isn't incredibly disciplined.
So let's look at a practical example from the source. Say a writer is working on a script and they decide to add a single location. They literally just type scene 2, the coffee shop.
Right.
On paper, typing those words costs absolutely $0.
But in the physical world, moving to that coffee shop is a massive logistical undertaking.
Right. You don't just hand the cafe owner a few $100 to use their space. The moment you add that location, you instantly trigger the multiplier effect. You are now paying for the logistics of packing up trucks and physically moving 15, maybe 50 people across town.
And you're paying for the time that move takes.
Which is time you aren't shooting. Plus, you have to secure parking for massive grip and electric trucks in a public space.
Good luck with that in a city.
Exactly. You're paying for an extra day of catering to feed everyone at that new spot. And, crucially, you take on the added risk of traffic delays or weather issues during the move itself.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see how a single, seemingly minor creative choice entirely rewrites the financial landscape. Moving a scene from an interior studio set to an exterior city street isn't just a change in the background aesthetics.
It's not just a different look.
No, it is a logistical multiplier. You are multiplying the labor required to control a public environment. You're multiplying the time it takes to set up, and you're inviting entirely new geographical challenges.
You know, it's like deciding to host a dinner party in a public park instead of your own dining room.
That's a great way to put it.
Suddenly, you aren't just buying groceries anymore. You are renting protective tents, you're hiring transport for the tables and chairs, you're figuring out portable power generators for the string lights, you need permits from the parks department.
And you're just praying the wind doesn't blow your setup over.
Right. The actual food, the groceries, becomes the smallest fraction of your expenses. The logistics become the budget.
And just like that dinner party, where you choose to host it, sets the baseline for your costs, which introduces the reality of the microeconomy of film.
Ah, yes, the microeconomy.
Because geography doesn't just dictate how hard it is to carry a camera, it dictates the baseline inflation of your entire multiplier effect.
And the numbers on this are wild. If you are shooting a standard corporate video or a narrative short film in a major metropolitan hub, so think Los Angeles, New York, London, it commands rates roughly 30 to 50% higher than shooting the exact same script in a rural or secondary market.
And a 30 to 50% baseline increase is monumental.
It really is.
I mean, if you raised a $100,000 budget, deciding to shoot in a major city could suddenly mean you need $150,000
Yeah.
just to execute the exact same words on the page.
But why is the gap that massive? Just for changing the zip code?
Well, because in a major hub, the microeconomy is highly specialized and heavily inflated. You aren't just dealing with the general cost of living, where a catering sandwich costs more.
Right.
You are dealing with municipal permit fees to close a street. You're paying for mandatory police details to direct traffic around your trucks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you are navigating strict union boundaries. So if you shoot outside a specific 30-mile city radius, you suddenly have to pay every single crew member mandatory travel time, mileage, and sometimes overnight hotel accommodations.
So the physical geography forces your hand at every level of the budget.
Every single level.
So what does this all mean? I mean, given how incredibly fast these costs can spiral out of control from a single location change or a sudden rainstorm or just shooting in an expensive zip code, how does anyone actually make a movie without going bankrupt? How do you tame the chaos?
The answer lies entirely in preparation, specifically adhering to what they call the golden rule of pre-production.
Right, which dictates that skipping the planning phase to quote-unquote save money is the absolute fastest way to bleed cash.
It is. It highlights this profound paradox in filmmaking. You must aggressively spend money up front during the planning phase to protect your money on the back end.
You have to cage the variables.
Exactly. You invest heavily in pre-production to put those volatile variables in a cage before they eat your budget alive.
Okay, but I have to push back on the logic here for a second, because it feels deeply counterintuitive to me.
Okay, how so?
Well, if you are an indie filmmaker on a super tight budget, isn't pre-production the easiest, most invisible place to trim the fat? Like maybe you skip the extra days of location scouting?
Sure, people do that.
Right, you shorten the cast rehearsal time and you just get everyone to set and start shooting so you actually have some footage to show for your money.
Look, it is incredibly tempting to think that way. When phones are low, people want to see action, not people sitting in an office looking at spreadsheets. But the data from the source shuts that logic down with a terrifying metric.
Yeah, this part was crazy.
Just a single day of reshoots caused by rush planning or a bad script breakdown can instantly double your post-production costs.
Double them over a single mistake. Let's actually clarify what a bad script breakdown is, because that sounds like a very specific industry trap.
Yeah, so a script breakdown is the fundamental blueprint of pre-production. It's where the director and producers go through the script literally line by line and highlight every single requirement.
Like every physical thing needed.
Right, every prop, every background extra, the specific time of day for the lighting, the wardrobe changes. So a bad breakdown means you rushed this process and you missed a variable.
Give me a hypothetical. How does missing one detail double my post-production costs?
Okay, let's say you rush the breakdown and you fail to realize that a deeply emotional 6-page dialogue scene takes place at sunset.
Okay.
You get to the location, you start shooting, but we only have an hour of actual sunset.
Oh, because the sun moves.
The sun goes down.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's pitch black and you only shot half the scene. You're now facing a catastrophic choice. Option A, you bring all 50 cast and crew members back for a reshoot day. You re-rent the camera, the trucks, the catering, and you pay everyone their full daily rate all over again to shoot for 1 hour.
Which you probably can't afford.
Right, the money is gone. So you go with option B. You set up massive artificial lights to fake the sunset in the dark, and you shoot the rest of the scene.
Okay, seems like a fix.
But it looks slightly off. Now, you are in post-production. The footage doesn't match. To fix it, you have to hire highly skilled visual effects artists, paying them upwards of $150 an hour, to sit in a dark room for 40 hours, digitally painting out harsh shadows.
Oh my gosh.
Replacing the sky, color-correcting every frame so the audience doesn't notice the mistake.
Wow. So what you quote-unquote saved by skipping 3 days of careful planning in an office instantly evaporates, and it drags a massive chunk of your post-production budget down with it.
The multiplier effect strikes again, but this time in reverse, punishing you in the editing room. Pre-production is truly the only time you can control the variables of time, labor, and geography before the meter starts running.
Okay, so we fully grasped how fragile, expensive, and chaotic traditional physical budgets are. Every tangible object on a set brings a massive web of human and logistical variables with it.
But if physical logistics and human unpredictability are the things bankrupting productions, the ultimate financial cheat code would be removing the physical world altogether.
Which is exactly what brings us to the modern frontier, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Producers are already using AI platforms to instantly forecast those chaotic traditional budgets, replacing those static spreadsheets with dynamic models that can calculate the multiplier effect of a city's microeconomy in seconds.
And that forecasting alone is a powerful tool for traditional filmmakers. But where the industry is truly fracturing is in raw AI video generation.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We mentioned this at the top of the deep dive, but let's break down the actual mechanics of this cost collapse. A 3-minute short film that costs $15,000 using traditional crew and equipment drops to $120 using raw AI generation.
A total collapse.
But how is that $120 actually being spent? Like, what are you buying?
What's fascinating here is that the $120 isn't a rental fee for a physical object. It is being spent on digital access and compute power.
Okay.
You are paying for monthly subscription tiers to advanced AI video platforms. Tools like Midjourney for imagery, Runway or Sora for motion, 11 Labs for voice generation. You are buying API credits to process the rendering.
So it's mostly server time.
Exactly. But the reason the cost drops so drastically is that AI entirely bypasses the multiplier effect.
Because there is no coffee shop to move to.
Exactly. When you generate a scene using AI, you remove the need to physically transport 15 people across town. You remove the catering budget, The grip trucks and the municipal street permits.
You don't need police to direct traffic.
Right. The physical geography literally doesn't exist. The unpredictability of the weather is completely gone. By shifting to a purely digital environment, you are effectively collapsing the traditional variables of physical human labor and physical geography down to zero.
It is a breathtaking shift in how media is created, but I have a critical thought about this.
Let's hear it.
If you take a production from 15 grand down to 120 bucks, it's not just a discount. It's a fundamental change in the medium.
Sure.
It's like replacing a handcrafted horse-drawn carriage with a mass-produced electric bicycle. Like, sure, the variables of feeding the horse, repairing the wooden wheels, and dealing with a stubborn animal,
Yeah.
those are completely gone.
Completely gone, yeah.
But doesn't raw AI generation just introduce a completely new set of digital variables that we are only just figuring out how to price?
Yes. You trade physical unpredictability for digital unpredictability. The medium changes, and so the nature of the variables must change.
Because with the traditional film, you know a rainstorm will cost you a few hours. But with raw AI generation, you run into the problem of the platform hallucinating.
Which is a massive new variable. And for anyone unfamiliar, an AI hallucination in video generation is when the algorithm gets confused and outputs something surreal or logically broken.
Like turning into spaghetti or something.
Yeah. It might generate a character walking down the street, but suddenly they have 6 fingers. Or the jacket they're wearing morphs into a different color halfway through the shot.
Right. The AI struggles with consistency.
Yeah.
So you might not be paying for catering or camera trucks, but aren't you paying for hours upon hours of human labor to constantly prompt, tweak, and reprompt the machine until it gets the shot right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like you tap a prompt, you wait 5 minutes for it to render, it hallucinates a weird background, you adjust the text, you wait another 5 minutes. That compute time and that prompt engineering labor is the new variable.
And this raises an important point. The $120 represents the raw cost of the digital tools. But the human pursuit of a specific creative vision remains a variable process.
You're just swapping the battleground.
Exactly. You are substituting physical wrangling, fighting the sun, managing a crew with digital wrangling. You are fighting the algorithm to achieve continuity. So, the drop from $15,000 to $120 is a verified collapse of the physical budgeting constraints. But the invisible cost of a creator's time spent curating those digital outputs is the new frontier of budgeting.
It really makes you realize that whether you are standing on a freezing, muddy mountain with a heavy camera or sitting alone at a keyboard generating pixels, filmmaking is always going to be an exercise in managing variables.
It ultimately comes down to which set of variables you are equipped to wrangle.
Right. So, to pull all of this together, let's recap the journey we took today. We started by destroying the myth of the fixed price, learning that in filmmaking, you are actually paying for the volatility of time, labor, and unpredictability.
The hidden ocean of variables.
Yes. And we broke down how physical geography creates a massive multiplier effect, turning a simple location change into an avalanche of logistical costs, especially in heavily inflated microeconomies.
Like LA or London.
Then we looked at the golden rule of pre-production, seeing exactly how skipping a script breakdown can force you to hire VFX artists and double your costs. And finally, we explored the mind-bending shift of AI, which collapses the physical multiplier effect entirely, replacing grip trucks with compute costs and subscription tiers.
It is a profound evolution of how we value the creation of images.
It really is. And I want to connect this directly to you, the listener, because understanding this hidden economy of variables isn't just for Hollywood line producers. It applies to how we navigate the world.
Oh, totally.
If you are managing a large-scale project at work or planning a major corporate event, recognizing the invisible logistical multipliers completely changes how you assess risk. And honestly, it changes how you consume media.
It ruins it a little bit in a good way.
Yeah. The next time you are on your couch watching a movie, and the scene transitions from an intimate indoor room to a sweeping, crowded city street, you now know the immense, invisible snowball of time, labor, permits, and geography that had to happen just to capture that one shot.
You aren't just seeing a movie. You are watching a masterclass in variable management.
And looking at the industry through the lens of those physical variables leaves us with a really provocative, lingering question.
Yeah, this is the part that keeps me up at night. We discussed the microeconomies of film, how major metropolitan hubs like New York or London command a 30 to 50% premium because of their specialized infrastructure.
Right, all the grip trucks and studios.
But if raw AI generation continues to advance, allowing creators to generate photorealistic city streets for pennies in compute costs what happens to those major physical hubs.
Wow, that is a massive implication.
If the physical geography of a film no longer dictates its price or its possibility, will the traditional film city eventually become obsolete?
Because why pay the permit fee?
Exactly. If you don't need to physically move 50 people, close down a block, and pay local municipal fees to get the shot, does the city itself lose its economic power in the entertainment industry?
That is an incredible thought to chew on. The idea that artificial intelligence isn't just changing the numbers on a budget spreadsheet, but could literally reshape the physical geography and the local economies of the entire industry.
That's a whole new world.
It really brings us full circle. When you expect a fixed price, when you expect things to be as simple as buying a carton of eggs, you are ignoring the massive, complex world of logistics moving just under the surface. In the film economy, whether physical or digital, the only true constant is volatility. Keep that in mind the next time you see a staggering budget or a beautiful city skyline on screen. Thanks for joining.